Hey, what is going on, folks? This morning I wanted to talk. I'm sure I'm sure everybody's had experiences with unprofessional, kind of shocking way, potential bosses act on interviews, the way they conduct themselves. I've had a lot of interviews over the years, and oh boy, definitely, because most of my interviews, most of my jobs were in food service, but boy, do I have some stories for you on I feel like I've had so many unprofessional interviews rather than professional interviews. Now, going all the way back to my days in food service, I think, and this was such a joke. Well, actually, no, the first one I wanted to talk about, and I ended up working at this restaurant as a cook for like 2 years. Um, the executive chef, he seemed like a cool guy. He turned out to be a cool guy. I actually liked working for him, and the general manager, who was a jerk. But the thing is, I thought they were kind of unprofessional in a way, and kind of on the interview, and dived into talking about this bartender it got to the point where it was like, okay, what does I kind of found it amusing, but it was like, what does this have to do with me? And there was a bartender there that was like it was sort of exactly like the movie, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and he was 40 at the time. I think he just turned 40, and they said, yeah, we just want to warn you, we get this bar, and he was really kind of screwy, not very intelligent, pretty goofy. But they said, yeah, just to forewarn you, Jeff, like, if you take this job, like, we got this bartender working here, and he's definitely got a couple screws loose, and, he did go out to the bars a lot, get drunk. He went to strip clubs, like, on the weekends, and, they were just going on and on about this guy, and he would kind of milk the clock a lot. He kind of, at the end of the night, instead of cleaning up and going home, we would usually make him a meal at the end of the night, and he would just nurse it like no other, just to get more time in. And as soon as he'd go so slow with eating, so slow with cleaning up, because he felt like he wasn't making enough money. And then, once he got done, once he clocked out, bam, he was out the door. He dashed out the door. He was gone. And I found it funny the way they're going into this, but at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, what does this have to do with me? And then about a year later, I get the job offered to me. I didn't take it. I don't know if any of you heard of it. I don't think it's around anymore because I haven't heard anything about it for years. But it was like a chain, like a franchise. It was like an Italian steakhouse. It was called Nick and Tony Steakhouse, and it was a sous chef position. And the thing that was a joke is that I went in, like 3 times for interview. I think the second time I went in, they sent me home because they said that and I had like half hour drive too. I was pissed. Well, the first interview, I think I waited around like half an hour because the executive chef, they had like a lunch rush. It's like, why would you have me come in when you know that you're going to be busy like this? Have me come in during the downtime. They had me come in during the lunch rush, and the executive chef and the general manager, they were so busy running around. And well, first of all, there was an office back behind the kitchen where it was nice, peace and quiet. They should have interviewed me back there, but it's like they're interviewing me, so many distractions out in the dining room where it's like other people could listen in, and there's other, I get kind of distracted easily. There's noise in the background with, customers talking, people, getting loud in the bar. So I think, the first interview I waited for about half an hour, and then they finally interviewed me and said, okay, we'll bring you back for a second one. So I think within the next week, they brought me back for a second interview. Like, oh, sorry, Jeff, like, we can't interview you today, and like, we'll have to bring you back next week. I'm like, well, how come? What's going on? And they said, oh, we had an unexpected visit from corporate today. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I think even the third, well, it was technically the second interview, but the third time I went in, and I was again waiting around, just getting so ticked off. And I ended up not taking the job because it was a joke, because I had this restaurant that I was a cook at. I was working like 40 hours a week and making around $30,000 a year at the time. And this job, it was a higher position, but it was the same amount of money. Yet they were going to salary me, and they were going to work me like 65, 70 hours a week. And I was basically like laughing in their face practically. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I'm like, I'm making $30,000 a year right now. Like, why am I going to work an extra 25, 30 hours a week for the same amount of money? Like, you got to be crazy. And I mean, I didn't say that, but that's the kind of the gist I was trying to get across. Like, I'm not going to, especially if you have a 3 times longer, instead of having a 15-minute drive, I had like, a 40-minute drive. And the thing is, this place, it was really weird. It was in it was in like an outlet mall. It should have been, it was just during Christmas time too, but it was like always dead from what I heard. People were going in there for dinner, and it should have been hopping, especially during the Christmas season. I mean, Christmas shopping, I thought they'd be packed, but one of my friends went there, I think a Thursday night, and he said, yeah, there were like less than 10 people in there. It was really expensive. Like my uncle said, if they want to build up their business, they need to, before they start charging, 30, 35, $40 for entrees, they need to, get the business in there first, the clientele, before they start raising prices like that. But, I felt that oh, here was the next, the chef was really unprofessional. He's kind of like showing me around, and, I've always been told that, you're not really supposed to swear on job interviews. Obviously, if you're interviewing, and the person that's interviewing you shouldn't really swear either, but he's kind of showing me around, and the kitchen, I will give him credit, was really organized, but he's like, yeah, you use it, everything has a home, you take it out of its home, you use it, you put it back in its home, and he's like, I don't like to fuck around, and he was using the F word, I was saying fuck a lot. I'm like, I don't know if this is somebody I want to be working for. And I don't know if the GM was on steroids, but this guy, I mean, he was not as, he kind of had like that Arnold Schwarzenegger look to him. Short though, he was maybe 5'4", 5'5", but he was, I mean, even though me being 6'5", he was 5'5", but yet his arms at the time are probably like more than twice the size of mine. He kind of seemed like he was on steroids. He had that look to him, and he definitely seemed like short-tempered. Just by looking, he kind of looked like crazy. Just by looking at him, like he could get pissed off real easily. He's kind of like one of those, the type like the high school jock, and the football stars that are always throwing their weight around, always acting pumped up, and that's how he was acting. And I actually didn't witness it, but I think one of the interviews, when the executive chef we had some time to chit chat, and he said something like, didn't surprise me at all. But that was a red flag right there. That's when I decided I really didn't want the job. But he said, yeah, he's like, our GM, just to warn you, he's kind of short-tempered. He has temper tantrums. And he's like, but we respect him. He just, wants to get the job done right. He just likes to be professional. It's like, I'm sorry, but if you're having, that is not professional. If you're having, we all get pissed off from time to time, but it's like if you're constantly yelling and screaming at work and having temper tantrums, that is not professional. That you need to knock, that shit needs to be knocked off. And that right there is like, along with the salary, the same amount of money for extra 25, 30 hours a week, plus this guy's hot temper. No, I do not think so. And the other thing is the regional manager, he was there to interview me too. It was like a three-person interview. And he was surprised I didn't want to take the job. I told him, I said, I'm working, 40 hours, making 30,000 a year right now. I said, I'm not going to work. I'm sorry. I'm not going to work, 25, 30 hours a week more for the same amount of money. And then he was acting like it was no big deal at all. He's like, oh, I've been working 70 hours a week for 15 years. And I didn't say anything to him. I was like, okay, well, that's your problem. That's not mine. And you're probably not making 30,000 a year as a regional guy. I'm sure he was probably making the big bucks. I wouldn't be surprised if he was six figures. I'm sure he was at least making, 60, 75,000 a year, if not more at the time. And this is 15 years ago. And they also wanted me to be like on call. So, okay, I'm already going to be working 65, 70 hours a week. But yeah, just so you know, if anybody ever calls in sick, like you'll be the first person, is another red flag. Is yeah, if anybody ever calls in sick, we need somebody to come in. You're going to be the first person we're going to call. I'm like, oh, great, thank you, And they're like, oh, would that surprise you? Like, no. But yeah, it definitely did surprise me that I'm already working that many hours, and yet they're going to pull me in anytime a cook calls in sick, and they were going to have me do so many other things that just weren't related to a chef's position. Like I was going to be responsible, or like how your mechanical skills, and I said fairly decent, depending on what it is, because I said, well, yeah, if anything ever, we don't have maintenance here, so if anything ever breaks down, and you're going to be responsible for fixing it. I'm like, okay, that's not what I went to school for. I went to school to learn how to cook. I didn't go to school to learn how to fix ovens, whatever. And so then, trying to think of a next, oh, yeah, I think my next unprofessional interview, I think the guy, he was being really pushy. I didn't, I heard the chef was kind of a psycho, but it was a really nice restaurant. And I heard that the chef was like a psycho, that like he didn't, he got pissed off if people were talking in the kitchen. I figured I'm pretty quiet, he'll probably like me. And the salary was really low, so I didn't want to take it for that reason. But I was like, oh, I'll go and see. Maybe he'll be a cool guy. Maybe he just doesn't want people, yakking all day. I said, I'm not a yacker. I'm an introvert. I show up, I do my work, and I go home and interviewed with the guy, but I could tell that he was just a psycho, and he was wanting me to start the next day. And he's like, "Oh, how about starting tomorrow?" And I said, "Well, I didn't want the job, but I said, I have other job interviews, and to me, it's really unprofessional to be asking people where they have their other interviews at. That's none of their business." So he's like, "Oh, we have your other interviews," and I told him, I went into it. I'm like, "Oh, the Red Star Tavern, this place, that place," and he's like, you can work there. You might make more money there than working for me, but I mean, what's more rewarding for money when you're working?" But he's like, "Oh, you'll make more money there," but he's like, "You're not going to learn anything there compared to," he's like, "I know I'm not going to pay you as much." But he's like, you're not going to learn anything there compared to what you're going to learn from me. He's like, "I'm going to teach you everything," and he was just being really pushy over and over again. I was trying to get away from that. I was finally relieved to get out of that interview, ended up not taking that job. And around that time, too, I also had another interview at a country club, and I think they said, which my dad said it was illegal, and if I found out later, it definitely is. But yeah, it was a really low, I mean, he went back in 2006. I mean, I got a culinary degree. I was an executive chef at a steakhouse, making like 37,000 a year, and they're trying to pitch me like $9 an hour or something like that to work. I think it was the poolside. They had like a snack bar out there, and I'm like, "What? You're going to pay me $9 and I was an executive chef, and like you're going to offer me a job making $9 an hour?" I think it might have been less. It might have been like $8.75 or something like that to work at a snack bar. I'm like, "Come on, you got to be kidding me." But they were bad mouthing their sous chef, and they said, "Well, you could stick it out. There's a good possibility a sous chef position might open up." And I've had that happen a lot, where they bad mouth their employees, like, "Oh, we got this guy, this sous chef, and we've kind of mapped out in detail, what's expected and what you have to do, and we've given him plenty of chances, plenty of time, but like he doesn't seem to be getting any better." And that's really unprofessional right there, because I oftentimes wonder, okay, if I take the job to this person and I end up not working up to expectations, what are they going to do to me? Are they going to fire me, or are they going to be talking shit about me? I wouldn't really like that. And they said that I wasn't going to get any vacation time. I wasn't going to get any insurance. And what else did they say? Oh, that was the other thing too. They said there would be overtime opportunities. They said, "Oh yeah, you'll probably be working like 50 hours a week." So they said, "You'll have opportunities to make extra money." I figured it'd be time and a half, but they said, "Oh no, you'll just get your regular straight pay, and it won't be time and a half." And my mom and dad were like, "Oh, that's illegal." I thought so too, but they were acting like it was perfectly legal. That company is actually not around anymore. That company is American Golf, and I looked them up. I didn't find anything on them, and I don't think they're any longer in existence. Surprise, surprise. And then I had, oh yeah, another interview, 2006, another country club I actually ended up working at, which I ended up quitting because I couldn't stand the job. But I felt the chef was really unprofessional. I mean, he had an office, but he was interviewing me in the kitchen, again, where people can hear. It was noisy. He's like got stuff on the grill. He's got steaks, chicken breast and hot dogs, bratwurst. He's pulling, roasted chickens out of the oven. And it's like, why would you have me come in when you're busy like this? Have me come in, before you get busy or after you get busy. And he's interviewing me in the kitchen, and it's like it's hard to hear. And while we're trying to talk, people are asking him questions, and he's having to stop with me. And he was bad mouthing people too, and he was telling me like what was expected of the job, and he's like, "Oh, do you think you could handle this?" I'm like, "Oh, sure, no problem." He's like, "Oh, okay," because I got one guy I had a few months ago, like he was just terrible. He couldn't be left alone to do anything by himself, and he was just like imitating the way this guy got so flustered in the kitchen. And I think I had another interview for a retirement home, and they didn't even have a position open, and this woman seemed nice. But she said the same thing too. She'd go, "Oh, yeah, nothing's open right now, but there could be a position open pretty shortly." And I said, "Oh, yeah, well, how's that?" And she said, "Oh, I have this cook working for me, but he's not really doing too well. He's not working out." And my parents were like, "Oh, yeah, I wouldn't take that job if I were you." I said, "Well, she seemed nice." So, yeah, well, what if, she may seem nice, but she could have a different, backstabbing side to her. She said, "What?" I said, "What happens if you take that job and she ends up, you end up not working out and you end up being that same, being talked about in the same way to somebody else." And when I did work at that jail in Illinois for 10 years, I really didn't like I worked for 4 different bosses, and they were all, except for the first one, the 3 other bosses were awesome. I ended up not liking the first boss, so she was really strange. I mean, I knew I'd like the job, and I had, friends that worked there. And I mean, I stuck around for 10 years because I pretty much loved just about every minute of every second of it. He had some bad days, some bad points. But this administrator, she, working at jail with inmates, I mean, we had everything from murders to child molesters, DUIs, people not paying child support, credit card fraud. Yeah, we had the most severe to the most, rare, crimes that aren't really, that big of a deal. And we had, very severe crime, and very minor crimes, everywhere from the most severe felonies to the most minor misdemeanors. So, because sometimes, you're close to the inmates. They come down to the medical department, or you have to go out to see them for whatever reason. Sometimes I'd be alone. Always be watched by a correctional officer, but there would be times I'd be alone in a room with an inmate, and the original administrator, health services administrator I worked for, she's like, "How would you feel being alone in a room that's somebody that might be a child molester?" And I was like, "Oh, I'd be fine with that. I don't really care about them. I'm just here to do my job. I'm not concerned about their crimes. I'm not going to discriminate against them because of that." And she's like, "Oh, so you'd be okay with that? How would you feel about being in a room that somebody that might have killed somebody and hacked their body into a million pieces?" And I'm like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Oh, it's kind of strange," but I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'd put their crimes aside. I'm professional. I'm here to, take care of the inmates. I wasn't a nurse or anything. I didn't give them medical care, but I say they deserve. They still, regardless of what they've done, it wasn't their choice. Even though it may have been their choice to commit their crimes, it wasn't their choice to come here. And it's my job to, do what I have to do for them." And I thought that. I mean, I think she could have worded it differently, like, but going into the detail that she went into might make somebody, I don't know if she was trying to make sure that people didn't have second thoughts, but I was definitely starting to have second thoughts about it. But I went through with it and ended up working out. And it was funny, though, when I took that job, even the first day, still wasn't worried about it. But my first day there, the 10 years I worked there, I only had like 2 bomb threats. And amazingly, the first day I worked there was a bomb threat. And one of the inmates actually, called from, we found out they traced the call. And we found out it came from, was one of the inmates who was mentally ill. The call came from inside the jail. Actually, he said he was outside, and that he had Molotov cocktails, and he said that he was going to start the place on fire. The funny thing was, it was like 10 minutes before I was supposed to go home. I worked from 7 to 3, so this happened and I had a second job at the time in the evening I had to get to. So they ended up letting me go. I begged them. It was like 2:45. It was funny, they wouldn't let anybody go home. They ended up letting me home because I said I have a second job I have to get to by 4 o'clock. And so I think they let me out at like 3. But everybody else, they weren't letting anybody else go home, but yet this is right as second shift was showing up. It's they let second shift in, which I thought was kind of strange. So yeah, getting back to, interviewing, and, I was on another interview about, maybe 6 months ago with a guy that was just swearing constantly, and I don't know, just from the looks can be deceiving, but just from the first, impression, like looking at this guy and the way he addressed me, I did not like him at all, and the way he conducted his interview. And I just been on so many interviews where people acted unprofessional. So yeah, that's my story with that. And today's Thursday. I'm supposed to hear back from that school I interviewed at for that custodian position. They said they should let me know. They should have all the interviews knocked out by Friday and get back to me with an answer. So keeping my fingers crossed, and I am praying that I get this job because I think that I really want it. It would work out great for me. So I'll keep you all posted, and I'll see you all next time real soon with another interesting video. Thank you all for your support. Channel's starting to grow. I got I think just the past couple weeks, went from like 4 subscribers to 8. I appreciate that, and I've been getting more likes, more comments, and I just like more views. I'd like that to keep going. So let's keep this ball rolling, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much again. Have a great day. Bye.